if y'all have any questions whatsoever, we're going to wrap up and clean up. But we have Mr. Derek Avery here to answer anything or just talk about whatever he wants to talk about. So, hey, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, y'all. That was interesting, right?
Yes.
All right, so just want to shout out Dallas Weekly, shout out Soiree, shout out Marlissa Collins who called me while I was driving down the street to say, hey, can you come do some Q&A real quick? I was like, all right, let's do it. Appreciate all of y'all being here. I mean, I just want to answer any questions. I really feel like we kind of saw what we needed to see on there. I'm going to ask the question first. Has anyone's mind changed from this debate? Who you going to vote for? No. Did we think going into the debate that was going to happen? Yeah. What you mean? Like prior to the debate, did you think this debate would change anyone's mind about who they were voting for? Okay, talk to me. They're solidified.
So I got a question. My name is Kiara Daniel. I feel like the people in this room, we already knew. What does Kamala have to do to change the mind of the undecided voters and the people that are still on the brink of Trump? Do you feel that this debate helped prove that, or what does she need to do to flip the script for those undecided voters?
That's a good question. So, if this debate helped flip anyone that's undecided, from watching it, I don't think so. Just being honest, I think she was trying to be as moderate as possible. She was trying to appeal to them instead of just being fully authentic. And I think that's something that if someone's undecided, they want to know who she is. They want to know more. They don't want to see a robot just kind of standing there, you know, and that's no offense to her, but at the same time, don't be one, if you're on the fence, you want to feel comfortable, because a lot of times people who are undecided, they want something, because we all heard, you know, some of the claims, and if you go to the fact-checking websites, you can see that there are a lot of weird things said, like the inflation question. I mean, he said it was no inflation under his presidency. That's not true. It was up 7.8%. So I don't think she did a great job of changing anyone's mind. I think it was kind of a neutral effect from this. Now, I liked that she was honest about some of the things and fact checked them, but at the same time, I wanted to see more. But I think most people's decisions are made. Yes, sir.
Can you explain what more you wanted to see? Because it seemed like under the parameters, like this was a very scripted, controlled environment. Not because she's not capable, but because he's ungood.
True.
So what more were you looking for in a scenario where we know media and other powers that exist really dug in on how to keep this scenario controlled more than a normal situation?
Yeah, this debate was really aggressive as far as trying to keep everyone locked in. I think you're asking my opinion directly, sure. So for me, I wanted to see more, you know how Trump didn't really care about the rules? In this case, he kind of made them irrelevant, but the moderators really didn't control that. Because I thought they were going to turn off the microphones, but she was trying to be polite.
That just has to do with logistics and how you felt the event went. So we're going to be clear on separating how you felt the event went.
Okay, I'm here.
What we feel was her connectivity with changing voters.
Well, see, my thought on that, and I'm going to come back to you, I'm sorry. My thought on that is, we know people who are undecided, they look at those superficial things. And so that's all I'm commenting on. Policy-wise, Kamala killed it. I mean, she knocked it out of the park. There's no question there. I'm just being fair when I'm thinking with the mind of someone that's undecided. If you want my opinion, I've been decided. I mean, there's no choice in that matter, but we're not here for my personal opinion. But as far as the debate goes, I think that policy-wise, she said what needed to be said. But I wish that she would have been a little more aggressive. Yes, ma'am.
So, you said undecided voters. Do you believe that undecided voters are voters that they actually vote? And if you do believe that undecided voters actually vote, what percentage do you think undecided voters vote?
The last time I looked, I'm trying to remember. I don't want to quote the wrong figure, but it was above the margin of error. So typically, there's a margin of error where it can go either way, and the undecideds are larger than that margin of error. So I think it's pretty important to get them to pick a side at this point because that's going to swing it. Now she's done well in the swing states of the last report that I saw, that she's doing really well in the states, like Pennsylvania and Ohio and places like that. So we have a lot of hope on that end of it. But I would say the undecideds at this point, it's still a coin toss because a lot of them are still on the fence. So hopefully they heard some policy and they'll go back and look at the actual facts and make a decision based on facts as opposed to emotions.
Do you think that will convert into them showing up at the polls and voting?
Oh, I think so. I think it will. I mean, anytime we're polarized like this, people show up. So that part's interesting. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would say question for you. My disagreement to be able to straight off the line, she did kill a boss, like you said, and I also think she at times gave to hang himself with the comments about people do it all, and abortion after babies, or all that type of stuff. My question to you is kind of basically what do you think about the fairness of the structure of the debate, given the fact I noticed how that way up to end. Now, so always got the last word, even when they were giving their proper bars. If I was sitting vice president, she actually in the White House. And he said you got the disparaging last word. What do you hear about that?
Yeah, I don't think it was fair. I think the debate should have had less parameters because let's think about it. Comparing one person who, is an attorney debating someone, who's on The Apprentice. I mean, we know skill-wise, there's no question. So I think that I think she was trying to follow the rules and be within those parameters, whereas he didn't abide by those rules. And I think that the moderators, they should have been more aggressive in saying, let's either stick to the rules or throw the rules out and let them go. Because if they had let them go, I mean, she probably would have debated them under the table. I think we can all kind of understand that.
Everybody knows always gets the last word. Even in the final statement, I thought, okay, for sure they're gonna have her speak first and her last, because she's actually in the White House. That wasn't the case.
Any other questions? I don't want to go over the time.
My last question would be, what would be your advice for us? What do we need to do in order to move the needle? So I feel like it's always good to watch these things. We know that we are registered to vote. If you're not registered to vote, make sure you register to vote. But as registered voters and as people that are ground rules, what do we need to do to move the needle?
Great question. So the question is, what do we need to do to move the needle to actually get people out to vote? Because turnout is usually the issue. Because we register plenty of people. We have a lot of people on the voter rolls, and I know in Texas we always have to fight them, purging the rolls and things like that. But I think that if we really make a concerted effort, literally reach out to your family, to your friends, and say, let's go to the polls together. You got to hold people accountable, because everyone will say, yeah, I'm gonna go vote. And then they'll call, people call me now asking to vote for me. And I'm like, that was months ago. So it's one of those things where you have to really hold your friends and family accountable and say, hey, let's go to the poll together. I'm always like, hey, take someone with you. Even when I was working with some of the undocumented community, what they would do is they would get someone who could vote. Maybe one of their children, and they would go vote for them to account for more votes. So I think that we need to be more active in getting people out to the polls and holding them accountable and say, hey, come with me to the polls.
I'm sorry, I just think that people need to understand how small that percentage is of people in the city of Dallas vote
Mhm.
in comparison to other cities that are our size. It's actually pretty important. Like, I believe that number was like around 10%, 9 to 10%.
So Dallas has the lowest voter turnout in the country. Period. It's less. So it's DFW, but if we talk about the major cities specifically, Fort Worth is right behind us. I mean, right ahead of us, I should say. But we're dead last. We haven't gotten over 10% turnout in any election. The last cycle, we had 4.96% voter turnout. So when she asked the question, she's not BSing you. She's saying, how do we get people to the polls? People will say they're going to vote, but they actually won't go vote. And that's why I think it's really, really important for us to hold our folks that we know personally, that we have relationships with, accountable and say, hey, come vote with me. Not just say, hey, go vote. You know, come vote with me and take a picture with your sticker on it. Because, you know, our voter turnout sucks, for lack of a better word. And I think part of it locally, because we focus on these national things, and you see this room was packed, which is beautiful, but the local elections affect us even more. And we have abysmal turnout for local candidates. Now, part of that is sometimes the candidates are trash, and somebody's going to get mad at me for saying that, but I'm going to say it, and I'll say it directly in the camera, whoever wants to hear it. But that's a problem too. So I always encourage everyone sitting in the room, run for something. Literally. You don't have to be special. You don't have to know something that anyone else doesn't know. You just have to care. So literally, be that change. Don't just wear a t-shirt. Don't just put your sticker on. Go run for city council. Go run for a county seat. Go run for state rep. Because we need more folks that look like us and folks that think like we do to actually be the decision makers. And also we need to lower the average age of the people in office, respectfully, of course. All right, last question. The last question.
So there are some people who have said that they've been, their voter registration has been suspended or they have been removed. What is the website that people can check the status of their voters registration?
That's a good one. So, don't we have some VDRs in the house? She wants the exact website to go make sure your registration is correct. I'm gonna have her pull it up. I just can't remember the URL. You know, I usually just Google Vote Texas and, you know, it pops up.
You can visit votetexas.gov or iwillvote.com to check your voter registration.
So
Monday the 7th is the last day to register to vote in the upcoming election.
votetexas.gov. Go to votetexas.gov. And what was the deadline?
October 7th.
So October 7th is the deadline to register. Just go check your registration to make sure, you know, you mysteriously didn't get deleted from the records or that your address is correct and things like that. And make sure when you go to vote, you know, don't let them turn you away. You know, because if you have your ID, you can go vote. So votetexas.gov. All right. Thank y'all so much. That's all I got.
Thank you so much. That was, again, Ms. Derek Avery. I appreciate you answering all of our political inquiries. So, yeah, I'm just going to wrap this up by, once again, profusely thanking the Soiree Coffee Bar for letting us host this debate party here. I want to say in your 4-year history, this is the first presidential debate. So, yeah, maybe we can do this again. Yeah, and like I said before, for any of you guys that were here before, that Dallas Weekly is also having our Best of Black Dallas Awards campaign going on right now. And that's also about voting and supporting your community and civic engagement, all of those great, amazing things. In fact, to the point that our voting time frame for our nominees will be the exact same time as early voting in the state of Texas. So that means October 25th through November 1st. Yes. So It's all about voting, supporting your community, civic engagement, blah, 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 over and over again. It's just support your people and be involved and be informed. That's really what it's all about. So thank you, thank you, thank you. For those of you guys who stayed around, it is late. Go home safely, please. And we will see you again.